Muito obrigado pela presença, aqueles que vieram aqui para o nosso escritório, no auditório do IDS, Instituto Dannemann Siemsen, e também aqueles que nos assistem online. Temos aí uma presença massiva de quase 100 pessoas online nos acompanhando, pessoas que não puderam estar presentes, naturalmente, porque estão fora da cidade. Obrigado a todos. Temos alunos da FGV, o FRJ, Mackenzie, o ERG, alunos, estudantes interessados em cursos, potenciais interessados em cursos de propriedade intelectual nos Estados Unidos. Meu nome é Filipe Fonteles, sou o diretor executivo do IDS, e é um prazer receber aqui a Sarah Dorner, da Franklin Pierce Law Center, Law School of Law, que vai nos falar um pouquinho sobre curso estudar propriedade intelectual nos Estados Unidos. I'm going to switch into English so that Sarah will not think that we're making fun or jokes about her. So I'm very glad to have this great audience here, to see people really interested in studying abroad. And I can tell you by my own experience that it is a great opportunity to you to boost your career. I can tell you, well, I was studying at Franklin Pierce a long time ago in the year 2001, but I can tell you and I can share with you a little bit of my experience. I think that you don't have to go to the US to learn intellectual property. Actually, we do have very good intellectual courses here in Brazil. We have very good teachers, we have very good universities. But studying in the US, you have a totally different perspective. I can tell you three things that could be life-changing. First of all, you're going to share class with students from all over the world, and especially Franklin Pierce does receive students from Asia, Latin America as a whole, Europe, and many different places. So you're going to learn, not only have the opportunity to practice your English, but also you're going to exchange experiences and learn the culture of diverse people from all over the world. Secondly, if you're going to work with intellectual property, most probably you're going to talk to clients from the US and from different countries. And by studying abroad, you learn how they think. You learn how they prepare their arguments, how they prepare their presentations. You learn to speak their language, not the English language, but the business language of your clients. Thirdly, whenever you study intellectual property in the US, you're going to study with people that are one step ahead. You know that in Brazil, intellectual property is very well developed, and we have many theses and leading cases dealing with trademarks, patents, and everything. But not surprisingly, most of our theses, most of our ideas come from the US. Let's take two examples. So the trademark dilution theory that we do have here in Brazil comes from the Trademark Dilution Act that was enacted as part of the Lanham Act, the trademark law in the US. The Teste 360, that is a methodology for establishing confusion, comes from the Polaroid factors, was inspired by the Polaroid factors, which is one of the theses also developed by the jurisprudence, in this case, in the US. So you have a lot to learn. I really encourage you, if you have the opportunity of studying abroad, studying the US, and particularly at Franklin Pierce Law Center, I do encourage you to do so. But you're not here to listen to me. You're here to listen to Sarah. Sarah is the Director of Graduate International Admissions of the University of New Hampshire, Franklin Pierce School of Law. She has a huge resume that I'm not going to read to you. You just need to know that she's a key person for you to contact whenever you wish to study at Franklin Pierce. Sarah, please, the floor is yours.
There we go. Oh, is that better? Okay. Before I start, I just want to see, we have one of your attorneys here is actually earning his LLM with us this year, and he is planning to join us on Zoom. So I just want to see if we have him on the Zoom and set up. Okay. Is he able to talk?
I'm here, Sarah. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, we can't see you, but we can hear you. So wonderful.
Good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here. Thanks, Filipe, Sarah, and Patricia for the invitation. I remember that I firstly met you, Sarah, 1 year ago when I was in the audience, and I'm very happy to be here today, like inside Franklin Pierce, talking to you. I won't say much. I'm here just to share a bit of my experience since I arrived in August, and I'm free to clarify any aspect about the courses and to answer to any questions from our audience. Thank you.
Thank you. It's so funny. I can hear your voice, but I can't see you. So Victor, stop me as I go if there's anything that you want to add as we work through the presentation.
Perfect.
I think it's so valuable to have you here with us for that firsthand. Okay, looks like we're bringing you up. That firsthand experience. There you are. We can see you now.
Okay.
And now I can see myself. Okay, so thank you everyone for having me here today. As you heard, I'm with the University of New Hampshire Franklin Pierce School of Law. We are the only law school in the state of New Hampshire, which is about 1 hour north of Boston, Massachusetts. We are an American Bar Association accredited law school and really was founded as an IP law school and have really been kind of ahead of the curve in that space since we were founded. We just this fall celebrated our 50th anniversary, and Victor was there and a part of some of those celebrations, connecting with, we had over 300 alumni from across the US and around the world who were there to celebrate with us. I'm going to share a little bit about our programs today. So let me just get right into that, actually. All right. Yeah, whoops. Here we go. So as I mentioned, we have been top ranked in intellectual property for over 30 years when they really started doing these specialty rankings. That continues to be our primary area of focus and expertise. LLM Guide has consistently ranked our intellectual property LLM program on their top 10 list of LLMs and intellectual property. I'll share more, and Victor will share more as well about the specific courses that we offer, that they are constantly changing and evolving to meet kind of the growing field of IP, but it's one of the most comprehensive lists of IP and technology law courses at a US law school. Oh my goodness, look at all of this. Okay. Now I have to be really careful what I say. More than half of our faculty have IP expertise. Our library, I know this came up last year, it's the largest academic IP library in the Western Hemisphere. It is one of only 3 global IP research facilities around the globe. And the IP Mall is the oldest open access IP research site on the web. So really, that's just kind of an overview of some of the expertise that we have in IP. The school has really been pioneering IP for the digital age since its founding 50 years ago. Victor can probably add a little bit here as well in terms of some of the IP activities that go on outside of the classroom. Much of this presentation is focused on the degree programs, but so much about your experience at the school is also what happens in the extracurricular, co-curricular space. So this here is just a snapshot of some in the last couple of years, some of the recent events that we've hosted. Our IP speaker series this year, rebranded, called Ipso Facto, is just beginning next week. And we'll be bringing in a faculty from another law school in the US who is going to talk on rethinking education theft through the lens of intellectual property and human rights. And then in the first week in November, we'll be hosting a conference with over a dozen scholars from across the US who are looking at exploring how new constitutional limits on trademark law. So that's just a couple of events happening this fall. This gives you a glimpse of some of the activities that have happened in the past. And then a little bit about our alumni. As you know, we have some alumni here in the audience today, but they are really leading IP law and policy across the world. They are at corporations, top companies, leading law firms, government in countries like Taiwan, Nigeria, Argentina, here in Brazil, of course. And so when you come, you become a part of that network and you have access to these phenomenal people and fantastic networking opportunities. Victor, do you want to just take a moment to share about your experience at the 50th anniversary celebration?
Yeah, I would firstly just confirm that I have friends from all over the world inside the classroom. I have people from Nigeria, from India, from Nepal, from Colombia, from Peru, but most of my classmates, they are from the US, which in my view, it's great because as Felipe anticipated in the beginning of the presentation, most of our clients are from the US, and then we are able not only to speak with them, but to understand what they expect in terms of business language, how the law firms work here, how the companies work, and that's super interesting. Specifically in respect to the celebration you had for the fifth year of the law school, it was a dinner, a fantastic event as well. We had alumni from all over the US and from abroad as well, and we had the chance to dinner with them and to talk. They shared about their careers. They made suggestions about our future. It was like fantastic.
Thank you. Okay. And really quickly, I cannot say enough about the lovely state of New Hampshire, which is probably not like top of your list of places to visit in the US, but it really should be. It is just a wonderful state. It's currently ranked number 6 and the number 2 safest state. It is particularly a gem for people who enjoy the outdoors and nature and being physically active. We have all 4 seasons, so Victor hasn't had the snow yet, but like there will be snow. But the law school is right across the street from this beautiful park with a pond, and in the winter you can go ice skating and sledding on the hill there. There's skiing and snowshoeing and lots of wonderful hiking. So it really is just a wonderful community. It's a very small city. It's technically a city, but it is very small and residential. So the main street is about a 20-minute walk from where the law school is located. They have lots of shops and restaurants and performing arts centers, and they do a number of really just lovely community events throughout the year. So next week is Halloween, or next weekend they do the shops. They'll close the street so that it's pedestrians only, and all of the businesses will open up so the kids can come trick-or-treating in the evening. They do a midnight merriment festivity where the shops stay open till midnight with special deals, and you can make s'mores at the local candy shop. So it's just a really nice community feel. Victor, do you want to say anything about living in Concord and how that's been for you?
No, of course I need to confirm first that is a small city, but I would say that like it offers everything a student needs. You know, you have the supermarkets, you have restaurants, you have everything the students needs to focus its study on intellectual property. You're gonna be 1 year focused on it. It's a perfect place to study, and it's not that far from Boston. Like by car, in 1 hour and 10 minutes, you are there. My parents visited me here like 2 weeks ago, and they were impressed on how beautiful the state is. And indeed, the fall is fantastic. Every tree is yellow, it's orange, it's red. It's a beautiful place to visit as well. And we wouldn't, in my view, travel to New Hampshire for tourism. So it's also an opportunity for you to know a different place and to interact with the people from here.
I know I worry that I'm missing the foliage this year and being here, but it is a beautiful time of year in New England and in New Hampshire. So thank you. Okay, let me get into the different programs that we offer. I'm happy to take questions as I go, or if you want to, we'll make sure to save some time for questions at the end as well. We have 3 different programs, and I'll mention too that in addition to our intellectual property program, we do have a commerce and technology law program. They're similar in nature, but I'll mention just a little bit about that in case, because it's just so closely tied to our IP program. But there's 3 different programs that you can choose from. The LLM is for foreign trained attorneys, so students who have a first professional degree in law. This program can provide a pathway to the New York bar exam, which is often a goal of many LLM students who come to the US. So our program does give you enough flexibility to take the classes for the IP specialization and still be eligible to sit for the New York bar exam. We have a master's degree for students who do not have a first professional degree in law, but who still really want to get that expert credential. Oftentimes students are with business backgrounds, scientists, we've had artists come through, typically STEM backgrounds, but you can come from any area of study and be in that program. And then we have a shorter term graduate certificate program. So this can be done in about half the time of our other degree programs. And it's a good way to just, if you're not able to come for a full year, to get some expert credentials in a shorter term of study. Our intellectual property program is available in person at our campus in New Hampshire or 100% online, the LLM, the master's, or the graduate certificate. So I'll talk a little bit about both, but just know that we do have the flexibility for you to approach it either in person or virtually. And then I'll share a little bit more about all of those other things as we go there. All right. So I'll talk first about the on-campus IP curriculum. And then when I'm done talking about the curriculum, what we'll do is Victor will share a little bit about the classes he's actually taking this year. So you can ask him more about that. So in terms of the curriculum, all of our LLM students will take some required courses. There's a 2-part American legal process and analysis class, which really gives you that foundational knowledge in the US legal system. And then a legal research course as well. So Victor's in those courses now, and he'll share a little bit more about them. Then you will have to choose 3 classes from this list up here. This is not a complete list of all of the electives that are available to you. This is just the snapshot of, you have to pick at least 3 of these, and then you can go take whatever you want to take. The list, as I mentioned, is constantly evolving. It changes every year. So I'll share more about some of the offerings. I can't guarantee that every single one of those classes will be available when you come, because they do change from year to year. But you would take at least 3 from copyright law, copyright licensing, fundamentals of intellectual property, patent law, patent practice and procedure, technology licensing, and trademarks and deceptive practices. In the online program, it looks a little bit different. Is that still? Yeah. We're actually going to be working on the curriculum to make it so that there's a little bit more synergy between the two. As more and more in this post-COVID world we're living in, we're hearing that people kind of want to move between the two a little bit more seamlessly. So we have had some attorneys that have started online with us, and then they've transferred to our in-person program. So we can work with you on that, but we're working to make the curriculum sync a little bit better so that it's easier for the students to do that. But for now, in this program, students will take legal research course similar to what we teach in our on-campus program, an international and comparative IP course, and then the fundamentals of intellectual property. Then you will choose from either a patent practice track or a copyright and trademark track. And you'll see here the courses that you would need to take for either of those tracks. It doesn't mean that you can't take classes in the other areas, just that you would have a little bit of a focus in one specific area, but you could still take electives from all that's offered. I'll mention too, and I'll share a little bit more about it, but sometimes in the online grad space, these students are also able to take some of the classes that are offered to our hybrid JD students. So I'll share more about the hybrid JD, but it is a mostly online JD program that is focused on intellectual property. Okay. And then I'd mentioned before our commerce and technology program. So this program really explores legal issues that emerge when information technology, business, and the law meet. It has a focus on privacy and digital law. And And in this area, in this program, you'll see that rather than a specific list of classes, you will take one elective in each of those three areas. So IP, transactions, information age commercial law, and international perspective and regulation tax. Students in this program are often taking classes like business associations, e-commerce in the law, IP management, secure transactions, international law. So kind of like a sister program to our IP program.
Sarah, just one question. So when you are at Franklin Pierce, do you have any person that students can talk to and help them to build their own program, like something very personalized?
So that's coming on a later slide, but yes. Yes, everyone, and Victor could speak about this as well. We have an academic advisor who will meet with students to help you pick out your classes. They are there to make sure that you're meeting your degree requirements, but they are also there and they work closely with our career services office to make sure that you're taking the classes that are the best fit for your career goals as well. They also work closely with our academic success program. And that program is the team that will help students who want to prepare for the New York bar exam. So they know which classes you need to take to be eligible for the New York bar. So they're all working together to help you build out your curriculum. So I will say more about that, but there is absolutely, you do not just get this list and then you have to make all these decisions. There is a team of people who will meet with you before you even arrive on campus to help you pick out your classes. And we even did this year too, with so many students interested in the New York bar exam, and it's just so nuanced, the rules around it, that before students arrived, we do address it at orientation, but we actually did a Zoom session over the summer so that students could start thinking about what they need to know to plan and pick their classes for bar exam eligibility. Yeah. So thank you for that question. And then here is just kind of a list of some of the IP and IP related courses that we offer, constantly changing and evolving, but hopefully this gives you a sense of the breadth of classes that would be available to you. And then Victor, I think the next slide here is an opportunity for you to share about some of the classes you're taking. There we go.
Yeah, sure. We just included this slide to illustrate the class I'm taking in the first semester. As Sarah explained, American Legal Process and Analysis and the Graduate Legal Research, they are mandatory, but they are really important. The first, which is number 5 in the list, it gives you like a foundation of the US legal system in general. So we understand the separation of powers, the federalism, and the main case from the Supreme Court, not only related to intellectual property. The last class listed, Graduate Legal Research, it's more important for those who want to stay in the US after the LLM, because it teaches you how to manage Westlaw and other Bloomberg and other platforms that are really relevant in the US to look for precedents. Because as you know, here is a common law country and the precedents are much more important than in Brazil. Specifically in respect to intellectual property, we unfortunately need to make choices because the program offers more than 20 courses, and I needed to choose trademark law, patent law, international trademark registration, and e-commerce and the law. So trademark law and patent law, as the name suggests, they give you foundations of this IP rights, and we are reading case law every class. This is an important difference between the Brazilian legal system and the US. Not the legal system, but the education system. Here in the LLM, we read the cases in advance for class. And that's really, really good because every student is prepared to talk and to discuss with the professor. It increases the level of the discussions, and I'm really liking the way things are taught. International trademark registration is also really good because we have an overview of the treaties that cover trademark overseas, and we can compare the prosecutions from US, from Brazil, from France, Europe. It's great. And e-commerce and the law, it's a really important class as well because it looks for the future. It discusses hot topics on intellectual property. We don't have much case law, but we discuss artificial intelligence, the metaverse, and this kind of stuff that are hot topics. I would just add that those are my choices, but many of my friends who are more focused on technology, they took privacy, technology transfer, contracts, which are also offered this semester. But as I said, we need to make choices.
Victor, have you picked out your classes for spring semester yet?
Not so far. As you said, we have an academic advisor here. I have a meeting with him next week, probably on Monday. But for sure, I'm gonna take copyright, IP management as well. And then I need to decide there are IP issues in sports. There's also entertainment law. So I'm working on it.
Yeah, tough choices. Do
Yeah.
you while you're speaking, I'm wondering if you could just speak about your experience with the faculty, the professors teaching these courses and what that's been like.
Yeah, Franklin Pierce is really focused on intellectual property, and it is not a big law school. So every professor knows the student and it understands the student's goals. So not only you can speak not only with the academic advisor, but also with the professors in respect to your plans, and they try to fit everything for you to be comfortable and to use their course in a practical manner for the future. It's really common to have the class, and then after class you take some minutes to discuss with the professor your questions, your concerns, and how you would apply a certain topic when you go back to your home country.
Thank you. And what Victor says is so true. Our faculty, they have scheduled office hours, but they tend to have what we refer to as an open door policy, where their door is open and you can knock and come on in and have a conversation. One of our top IP faculty, this will be his third year, I think, third or fourth year. He's going to host Thanksgiving dinner for our international students on Thanksgiving. So it is a community, really. And so they're there to support students professionally, academically, and make sure that they're just doing okay when they're with us in the US. See if I'm just moving the slides through here. We're stuck on this slide. Let me see. There we go. A couple of just specific courses I want to mention are some opportunities for experiential learning. So I get some questions usually about opportunities for internships or residencies when you're there. The student visa that you come on has some restrictions that can make it a little bit complicated to do an internship while you're in your program. So instead, most of our students get some of that hands-on learning through our clinics, they focus on specialized fields of law while also serving the public interest and give you the opportunity to gain some real experience in the US and build your resume at the same time earning credit towards your degree requirements. So we have two clinics that our LLM students tend to participate in, usually in the spring semester. So spring would be January to May. One is our intellectual property and transaction clinic that really looks at issues pertaining to business formation and organization. And students have the opportunity to work with a licensed attorney who directs that clinic to help clients with strategic business ventures. And students also get a limited license to practice before the United States Patent and Trademark Office. And then we have an International Technology Transfer Institute that blends IP and international development with a focus on capacity building. So students in that clinic will help countries transition their economies into innovation, IP, and tech. They have worked with a number of different partners over the year, but some include the World Health Organization, the World IP Organization, and the US Department of Commerce. So these, as you can imagine, tend to be really popular classes, and there's not always space for everyone who wants to get in. But our faculty work really hard to make space for our LLM students because they know they're just there with us for 1 year and that's their one opportunity. And last year, the director of our International Technology Transfer Institute even opened up a whole separate section specifically for our LLM students to focus on an area of interest that they wanted to focus on. So a lot of flexibility there, trying to accommodate our LLM students and make sure they get the hands-on experience they want. And then our other kind of unique learning opportunity is what we call our immersive courses. So this is where we take students kind of out of the law school, out of the classroom, and on site to different locations. So in recent years, that course has gone to Silicon Valley, California, where they focus on IP issues faced by today's industries, looking at IP issues in corporate America. And so they have visited companies such as Microsoft, Samsung, Google, Lenovo. So they are having class at these organizations. The classes are being taught by leaders at these companies. And then last year, students went to Las Vegas for sports law and business at the Ultimate Fighting Championship. And so there they have the opportunity to explore IP, contract, and emerging legal issues at the fastest growing sports league. And they discussed IP enforcement and safeguarding IP. So these courses tend to happen in between the 2 semesters. So your fall semester is August to December. There's a break for the Christmas and New Year's holidays, and then classes start back up in the middle of January. So usually in early January for about a week is when students will go and they'll take this special class in between the semesters. This year, Victor, I don't know if they've announced it to students yet, but the class is going to be in Hawaii this January. And I don't know anything.
Wow, I didn't know that.
You did. So you're hearing some inside information here.
Yeah.
I know that they'll be doing an information session soon. Yeah. You didn't have this. This is a newer development. Yeah, I know. We are really fortunate. So the director of our IP center, his name is Mickey Minhas, and he's the former vice president and chief patent counsel at Microsoft. He now works for a company called Marconi, and we have been really fortunate to leverage his industry connections to build out some of these classes. So he's really the champion of these classes. Gustavo, you'll have to come back. So I don't know anything more than the location right now, but they're working to build out what that will look like. These classes are not required. They do have an additional cost because you do need to get to them and your accommodations for the week. But it's a great opportunity, and they do draw students from across our program. So they're open to our LLM students, our JD students, both our in-person and our hybrid JD students. So they tend to be a great way to connect with other students, and we'll often host, I don't know how many alumni we have in Hawaii. We do have alumni, but we often host alumni networking events as part of these courses too. So Victor, mark your calendar for early January.
Yeah, I was planning to buy like the tickets, the flights for going to Brazil on Christmas, but I'll hold on and I'll wait a few weeks.
Hopefully there'll be an announcement soon. It's after New Year's. I think it tends to be that first week after the New Year holiday.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. And so there was a question about student services and academic advising. So as we mentioned, all of our LLM students have an academic advisor who is there to help you plan out your curriculum, and they will meet with you one-on-one. What we have done in the past is that the summer before you come in early August, but before that, you can meet with your academic advisor to start to talk about what classes you need to take and want to take. And then as part of our international student orientation, we also carve out time where you can meet with your academic advisor and make sure that you're taking your degree requirements. If you do want to prepare for the New York bar exam, that you're taking the courses that you would need to take to be eligible for that. And this summer, we actually tried to have the virtual meetings with the academic advisor, also with our Dean of Career Services, so that as a team, they could kind of understand your long-term goals and help you pick your classes accordingly. In addition, students do get connected with a faculty mentor. They are also there as a resource if you have questions about what classes to take and to help with career guidance. And these services are, I think, it's what you put into it, right? If you reach out to your faculty mentor, you can develop that relationship. We don't force students to meet with them so many times. So it's taking the time to build those relationships. And then, as I mentioned, we have an academic success program, and they have 2 primary goals, really. The first is to make sure that you have the skills you need to be successful in the U.S. legal classroom. So they'll offer workshops throughout the year for students, and they'll also offer one-on-one support. And then they are also there for students to help with the whole bar exam application and preparation process. So they are super knowledgeable about the requirements, particularly for New York, where our LLM students will sit for the bar. And they will make sure that you understand those requirements and plan your curriculum accordingly. Victor, do you have anything that you would want to add about these kind of academic services for students?
Yeah, I would just add that they work all together. So if you want to have a meeting with the academic advising together with the career service, that's okay. Most of my friends are planning to take the New York bar, so they work all together to prepare it, as you said.
Thank you. Okay, the next piece of those services that I think is so important for students is the career services. So many students come and they know that they're going to return home to the firm or the company that they're working with. Others come and they might want to stay in the US. Others don't really know what's next, but they know they need the LLM to get ahead. Career services is there to support all of our LLM students. This year, actually, for Victor, I think your cohort of students is in a really special place where our Dean of Career Services and our Director of Career Services is actually teaching the American Legal Process course to our LLM students. So they are so connected. They know each of you individually and what your goals are. So they really want to be working with you from day one to help you. So we bring them in at orientation. They talk about networking and how to do it effectively in the US. And they are there to help you whether your plan is to stay in the US for optional practical training or to return home. And just briefly, optional practical training is the opportunity to extend your student visa to stay in the US for 1 year to work. So a number of our LLM students do want to take advantage of that opportunity, and Career Services is there to help. So this is just kind of a screenshot of the internal website that they have for our students with information about their services. And then on the next slide, these are some of the services that they'll actually have. So I would say most of their work with our LLM students is done through one-on-one meetings. They'll do some group stuff, but it's so individual. And so that's the approach that they take. And we're so fortunate that they do that. That is not true for all LLM programs across the US. So we are really lucky to have this department working with our LLM students so closely. They're going to help you with applying to jobs. So in the US, no one's really going to hand you a job. You do really need to go out and work hard to find one. But they are there to help you with the process to make sure your resume looks good, that your cover letters are well written. They'll help you with interviewing skills and networking techniques. And then, as I mentioned, they have this website where they have job postings. So they're out there looking for jobs and they're trying to help find jobs that would be the right fit. And they'll post them when they find them. They're connecting you with our alumni. So they maintain a huge list of our alumni who are willing to connect with our current students, and they give you access to that. And then they also maintain a list of companies and organizations that have hired our graduates in the past, so that you can know to look there as well. They're a tremendous resource, particularly for our students who do want to stay for optional practical training. I know we had a number of students this year who worked really closely with them and were successful. We had one student from Nigeria who's now in North Carolina working as a privacy analyst at a medical center. Another student from Paraguay stayed, and she is in Washington, D.C., working at a law firm. And then we have a student from Palestine, actually, who stayed for OPT as well. And she has a remote position with a software company. So, and that was really, they worked tirelessly with Career Services even after they graduated. So our Career Services office is there for you in the long term as well. And Victor, you might not have had much. I know that you have them teaching your class, but I don't know if you would have anything there to add.
No, I'm not looking for a job, Sarah, but I know from my friends that the career services is indeed great. Like they simulate the interviews as they put themselves in a position of the employer, and they make tough questions for the students like to answer, and that's great for the preparation. About Carolina, which is our professor from Alpa and also the director of the career services. She's really experienced. She worked as an attorney for almost 20 years at Syngenta. She knows our firm very well, so it's great. Our relation with her, it's really close.
And she's actually an alum of the school
Oh, I
as
didn't
well,
know that.
which is yes,
Yeah.
yep. She earned her degree with us. As I mentioned, so much is about, we've talked about the academic piece, but there is such a huge social piece to the whole US law school experience. So I want to share just a snapshot of some of the student organizations we have, both IP specific organizations and IP related. So I won't read through it all, but just so you can see what's here. And then some more general student organizations. They are constantly putting on programming. We have what we call these community hours on Tuesday and Thursday mornings where there's no classes scheduled. So students can hold their special events and faculty can bring in speakers. And there's usually so many things happening at once that students don't know what to do first. But there's a lot of opportunity to get involved and get to know your classmates there. Victor, is there anything that stands out for you? Any events that you've participated in or any groups that you've joined that you would want to mention?
Yeah, I would say that there are events like almost every day. If you stay in the university after class, there is an event happening. Last week, we had a discussion about Justice Ginsburg legacy on her jurisprudence, and it was like super interesting. Like it comes also professor from other law school, from George Washington. There's always something happened inside Franklin Pierce.
Yeah. And there's usually a lot of free food that comes along with those
Yeah,
events.
you're right.
So, and then just a glimpse of where our students are coming from. This really changes every year, but it's not like we just have all of our students from China or India or just Brazil. They're really coming from all over, and students have the opportunity to build relationships that will really span their career. So just a snapshot of where students have come from in recent years. And I share too that, in addition to all of those student organizations, our student affairs team in recent years has really worked hard to build out some additional programming that's specific for our international students. So we have started an international student seminar, and this is open to the community, but it's an opportunity for students to share a little bit about their culture, their countries. I think is it today that they're doing the fashion? They've invited students from around the world to come and share like their clothing and talk
It's
about
today.
fashion.
I brought my Brazilian t-shirt here. I'm not wearing because it would be like informal, but it's in 30 minutes. You're right.
Okay. So that's today. And then we also hold some special events so that our international students can experience kind of US and New Hampshire culture. So things such as apple picking, there's pumpkin carving tomorrow for the international students. We will host a Thanksgiving meal both at the law school and then at a faculty member's house. We'll take students snow tubing. Last year, we took them to a ice hockey game at the main University of New Hampshire campus. So just a lot of opportunity there just to kind of be someone who's living in the US and experiencing all that it has to offer. This is a little bit about the application process. I won't go into too much detail here, but this tells you what you need to apply. You can apply directly through our website. For students who are applying to a number of different LLM programs in the US, I recommend that they go through the Law School Admissions Council, LSAC. There is a fee associated with that, but what they do is they gather all of your documents and then they send them to the different schools that you're interested in applying to. So it can help to streamline the process for you. But what I would say, and I did bring with me today some of our materials that have more information. So if you are interested, I'm happy to give you some materials and then happy to connect with you separately to talk about the application process. These are the deadlines for our in-person program begins in fall. It begins in August. The online program you can begin in either fall or January. So that's the spring date. Our dates are flexible. Like we've tried to have later dates, but especially if you are planning to come in person, I recommend applying sooner rather than later because that visa process can take some time. But Victor, you did it pretty quickly here in Brazil. You moved through it pretty quickly. So, but that's just
Yeah, but
yeah.
in other countries, this is an issue indeed. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's just if you can prepare and plan ahead, it makes the process a little bit smoother and less rushed. In terms of the tuition and costs, so I anticipate that next academic year, so beginning in August 2024, the cost of tuition will be about 42,000 US dollars. For the cost of living for visa purposes, you have to budget for about 21,000 US dollars. I think most students do it in less than that, but you do need to show in order to get the visa that you have the funds to support your estimated cost of living. Victor, would you say in your experience in terms of like the cost of living, does that seem to be accurate or is it a little bit more, a little bit less?
It's a little bit more, I would say, but it's fair.
And you're living, what is your housing arrangement?
Yeah, I'm living alone, but most of my classmates they live together, like they share the same house, and each of them has a room. I live alone, like in 10 minutes far from the university. The same place as Gustavo stayed when he was here.
Okay, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
So I think, yes, if you do live alone, your expenses will be higher. Most of our international students are sharing a house and they each have their own room. The law school owns some houses and we try to prioritize our housing for international students. It tends to be your most affordable option. So again, the sooner you apply, the sooner you can get on that housing list. And that does tend to be more affordable than living alone. So I'll segue that into how you actually pay for your LLM. We do offer a number of different scholarships through our law school, and I'll share more about that on the next slide. Otherwise, students are often they're pulling it together from a few different areas. They have their own savings, scholarships from the law school, and then often sponsorships through family or employers. There are some private loan companies that will fund to international students, but there's very few, and they do tend to have higher interest rates. But Empower Financing is the one that I've seen students have the most success with. I recommend to students always to connect with Education USA. If you're not familiar with them, they're an organization through the Department of State, and they have offices around the world that help students who want to come to the US to study, help them navigate that process, to connect them to the different schools that they might be interested in through the application process, the visa process, and how to fund their studies. They have several centers here in Brazil and a few here in Rio, so they're a great resource. And they are actually the reason that I'm here in Brazil. They host an LLM fair circuit through South America each fall. And so that is what initially brought me here. And if you're interested, the fair is this Saturday morning at the JW Marriott. So I can tell you more. I think there's about 25 US law schools participating. So you should obviously come to my table, but you can go visit the other schools as well. Students often wonder about working on campus. So the student visa does allow you to work part-time. It's a maximum of 20 hours a week. Most students are only able to work about 5 to 10 hours as they try to balance their studies and all of the other things going on. So it is not a way to fund your degree. It is just a way to have a little bit of spending money while you're there and to get some experience and to work. Students are often working in departments such as admissions, career services, and student life when they work on campus. In terms of the scholarships that the law school offers, we have a number of partial tuition scholarships that are based on both your merit and stated financial need, and that is part of the application process. Students can get more than one of these scholarships, but this is just to show that we do have a number of scholarships available. Most students who are seeking scholarship assistance do get some, typically in the range of about 20 to 45% of the cost of tuition. Victor, you, however, came through we have a special partnership with a SIPI. So for students who are members of a SIPI hosts an essay competition, and they will select 2 winners for the LLM program. And those students will earn a full tuition scholarship to the program. So they pick 2 for the LLM, 2 for our hybrid JD, and then 3 for our Intellectual Property Summer Institute, which I'll share about. But Victor, do you want to talk a little bit more? Because you were one of the first, this was our inaugural year of that partnership. And Victor, your essay was selected as one of the winning essays.
Yeah, I would just clarify that the rules for the competition are all on AZIPI's website. It's really clear. And basically, you have to be a member of AZIPI. You need to write an essay not that long, about 15 pages, about any topic in intellectual property. Of course, it must be in English. And you must also have the TOEFL grade that it's required by Franklin Pierce, but I anticipate for the lawyers that work at Dannemann that we talk English, we discuss in English with our clients every day. The grade it's not that high, so I assume that everyone this wouldn't be a problem for anyone. But if the students or the lawyers have specific questions about the ZIPIS competition, please feel free to reach out to me, send me an email or a message on LinkedIn. I would be happy to clarify.
Thank you. And I did bring with me today a handout about that special program that has a QR code to get to the ASIPI's website with more information. So do come see me after if you're interested in learning more. I think that the essays are due a little earlier this year. I think the dates are December even, but so
yeah,
plan ahead.
Actually in December, the person that is interested in the competition, it must send an email to AZIPI by December, informing that it will submit a paper for the competition, but the final deadline for the paper is February 2024. And then I assume that the decision will be issued like in April or May.
Yeah, I think
Probably
earlier.
yeah.
Sometime March or April. They're trying because just to make sure there's enough time, because you do still need to apply separately to the program and be accepted and then get your visa. So we want to make sure that there's time for all of that to happen as well. If you participate in the ASIPI competition, but you're not selected as a winner, you are still eligible for these other scholarships directly through the law school as well, these partial scholarships.
And Sarah, I would just also clarify that you can apply in the competition for both the LLM and the IP summer school as well. I also understand that you can also apply for the hybrid JD, and then if you are selected, you can make a decision on which course to take.
Correct. Yep. So I think that they pick first. The first winner, they give the choice of which program do you want, and so they'll work with you on that. And we've mentioned our hybrid JD a few times, so let me just share briefly about that. This program launched, and so the JD degree is the typical U.S. law degree. So students go to school for 4 years to earn a bachelor's degree, and then if they want to be a lawyer, they need to do another 3 years of study through the JD program. It is typically 3 years fully in person, full-time student. In 2019, we launched what we refer to as our hybrid or non-residential JD program that's specializing in IP technology and information law. So this program offers classes mostly online. Students need to come in person 4 times a year in August, October, March, and June for about 4 to 5 days for in-person learning. But otherwise, they are completing their classes online. So it was really designed for people to be able to stay in their jobs while they're earning their JD degree, and just give access to students who would otherwise not have access to a law degree. Students in this program tend to be older than our traditional JD students and have more professional experience. And this program does require a minimum of 3 years of related IP experience. So ASIPI does offer, through that partnership, we offer one full tuition scholarship for this program. It takes about 3.5 years to complete. And similar to the classes that I mentioned previously where we go on site, when students come for the in-person learning, they're sometimes coming to the law school, and then they're sometimes going to other locations across the US for additional networking and in-person learning opportunities. I'll mention too that we do offer an advanced standing JD program. So this is for students, for foreign trained attorneys, to come and earn the US law degree in just 2 years rather than 3 years. So that's another pathway as well that I'm happy to share about. That one is not necessarily just specialized in IP, but it allows you to earn the JD in a shorter period of time. And then our Intellectual Property Summer Institute. So this is a short-term summer program that's really designed for professionals. It's taught by some of our own faculty, and then from researchers, professionals, top companies, people from around the world come and teach these courses. And they tend to be more trending topics. So you'll see a list here of some of the classes that were offered the last couple of years. Blockchain, cannabis and IP, the deep space and the economy, worldwide patent litigation, a variety of different courses, and they change every summer. So I know for next summer, it will be June 7th to June 14th at our campus in New Hampshire. The way they've structured this is that it will overlap with our hybrid JD immersion, the in-person learning, and they'll offer 2 IPSI, is what we call it, Intellectual Property Summer Institute, or IPSI, classes from June 7th to June 10th, and then from June 11th to 14th. They'll have a whole variety of different IPSI classes available. Each class is $500 US for international students. We have a discounted rate for international registrants. This website here is live and active. It has last year's information in terms of the curriculum still, but this is the page that will get updated as we map out the courses for this year. We tend to finalize the courses much closer, more in the spring, because we are really thinking through the trending topics and the need to know areas and connecting with the experts to teach those classes. So I don't have a final list of classes for you today, but I promise that website will get updated with information. And at least save the date. It's a lovely time to be in New Hampshire. It's warm, but not too hot. So a nice time of year to visit, and a short-term program. So hopefully it's not too hard to get away for a week and come take those classes.
And I'll be here, Sarah. Those who are planning to come for the IPSI, we're going to study together.
Ah, wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Will you take the IPSI classes?
Yeah, that's my plan.
Okay, that's great. Awesome. That's it. That's all I've got. So what I'll do is I want to take questions, but before we do that, Victor, is there anything that I didn't mention that you think is important to add?
No, I'll just confirm that if any of you have any questions about the scholarships, about the program, about the university, about the city, about studying in the US in general, please, I am at your disposal, and I'll be happy to answer. I'll just type my email and my LinkedIn here in the chat.
Thank you, Victor. I know you had to leave class early today to join us, so I appreciate you taking that time out to be with us and share your experience. I think I can come and share this information, but to hear from a current student is so important. So thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah. And with that, I'll see if anybody has questions. I will stick around. So if you want some print materials with more information about the programs or the ASIPI partnership, I'm happy to share those with you. Yes. Oh, please.
Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Gustavo Piva. I'm a partner here at Dannemann Siemsen, and I'm very comfortable to speak about this subject because I've been to Franklin Pierce twice. I went there for the first time in 2002 for the IPSI, the International Institute Intellectual Property
Property
Summer
Summer
Institute in 2002. By then, I was still a very young attorney, and I can change that IPSI completely changed the way I see intellectual property. So it was a great experience because I saw all the opportunities, all the potential, and all the possibilities of this area of law. And then I went back there in 2009 for the LLM. So then I stayed there 1 year, such as Victor is doing now. And I can say it was fundamental for me, for my academic background. And as Filipe and Victor said, I can say that Franklin Pierce, if I had to say one thing and how to define the law school, it will be that it's a completely hands-on law school. So in Franklin Pierce, you will not just hear about policies, learn theory, you learn intellectual property in practice. So they have many courses. For instance, I remember I litigated a real case for the whole semester. Last week, I was discussing with Victor about one course that he's taking about the international trademark course. We were discussing about strategies that we can use and to suggest to our clients regarding trademark filings. So we were discussing whether to use the Madrid protocol or whether to apply locally in each country. So if you are looking for something that is very practical, and I think it will make all the difference in your career. So I'm very comfortable to say that. And such as Victor, I'm also at your disposal, if you wish to discuss about the school, about some practical tips, how is it, going to the US and studying in the US, I'll be glad to help. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Pessoal, não fiquem tímidos de fazer perguntas, né? Eu acho que...
E, Fábio, se você puder colocar aqui o chat para a gente ver as perguntas chegarem online. Pessoal, fiquem à vontade. Please feel free to address all your questions directly to Sarah. Se vocês não quiserem falar inglês, não tem problema, pode falar em português, eu ajudo a traduzir para a Sarah, não tem problema nenhum. Perguntas online, maybe? Haven't seen Victor's email. Victor, could you please write? Oh, it's over there already. Okay, great. Questions to Sarah? That's a great opportunity to have Sarah here with us. She came all the way down here to Brazil. Please, just speak in the microphone.
Hi, my name is Patricia. I study at FGV here in Rio. So my question is, this year I've taken an online course in intellectual property at UPenn, and it was very important to me. I learned lots of things, but my question is, do you think it's very different to learn in person or online?
I think either way, you're going to get a top-notch education, right? So I think that will happen regardless. With the in-person program, you're going to get that full immersive cultural experience that just cannot come with the online program. And I think you're going to get more access to those networking opportunities. I think it's just so much easier to build relationships with people when you're physically present. However, if it's not possible to come in person, and it's just not for a lot of people these days, I think that online program gives you the flexibility that you need to be able to earn the degree, get the quality education, and still be able to stay home and working. The online program, the in-person program does require that you be a full-time student in the US. And the online program, you can do it either full-time or part-time. So in the LLM program, students who move through it on a full-time schedule, it's 1 calendar year. So it's fall, spring, and summer semesters. Part-time, you have up to 3 years. Most students do it in about 2 years, I would say, but you have that flexibility to adjust based on your personal life. So I think there's pros and cons to each, right? The in-person has a little less flexibility for your personal and professional life. But I think it's easier, I think, to connect with the school and the people when you're physically present. However, you still get the same services. You'll still have an academic advisor to help you pick your classes. You still have access to career services. The social events aren't, that's hard to do online. But the student support services are still there for our online students. Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, hello, Sarah. Thanks for the presentation. I'd like to know, I may be interested in taking the summer course next year, and I'd like to know if, in your opinion, it would be worth it to go if a person only have like 2 weeks to take the course. I know that now you can choose the subjects that you want to take. And so, can you tell us about it?
Yes, yeah. So the way it's structured, so this year IPSY is just 1 week. And the way it's structured is that different courses will be offered throughout that week. So you can take kind of as long as they don't overlap. Like you could come and just take one class, you can take 2 classes. Last year, so there'll be 2 classes from June 7th to 11th, 10th, excuse me, June 7th to 10th. So you could take those 2 classes. And then new classes will begin June 11th to 14th. So you can choose more from that list of courses. I imagine if it's similar to how they structured it last year, you could fit 2 classes in a day, or you could just take one. So you have the flexibility if you want to, depending on how much you want to maximize your studies or how much you want to see the sites as well. But it's just the 1 week this year.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sarah, let me just jump in here about the IPSY. The feedback I received is that it is really intense. Really, it's a super hands-on course, and it's a week that you'll be like inside the university almost all day long. And my suggestion would be taking the IPSY for 1 week and then visiting other places in New Hampshire or Boston in the second week. Then you would have a complete experience about the place and the law school.
Great. Thanks, Victor.
You're welcome.
I guess we have a very interesting question online. Fabio, please. Great. So there is a question from Mike Silva. Is it possible to participate in a program without being a lawyer or graduated in law? For example, he has graduated as an engineer. Is it possible to take the program?
Yes. So that would be, you would enroll in the master's in intellectual property program. So not the LLM, but the master's degree. And that program is designed for non-lawyers. And it sounds like with your background, that's exactly the type of student that typically enrolls in that program. We have this year a master's in intellectual property student from India who is an engineer by training. So yes, it is still possible. The master's degree is a 30 credit program. The LLM is 24. Although, Victor, I would imagine you're taking more than 24 credits in your time with us. So your tuition for the in-person program, the tuition, that flat rate covers up to 34 credits at no additional cost. Most of our students will take more than the minimum number of classes required because they want to maximize their time with us, or because they're planning to sit for the New York bar exam and need to fit in those required courses. But absolutely, students who do not have a law degree are eligible for the master's program.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Sarah, so you probably heard this question a lot, but you talk about the cover letters students that apply have to write. So in your opinion, what makes a cover letter stands out from the others?
Okay. Yes, I do get this question, and it's a good one. So the very first thing I would say is make sure that you have a little something specific about the school you're applying to and why you want to go to that school in particular. And make sure before you submit it that you're sending it to the right school. So every now and again, we'll get an essay that's like, and this is why I want to go to GW or Berkeley. And Berkeley's probably getting the one. This is why we want to go to UNH Franklin Pierce. So I think making it personal It's really an opportunity to highlight your interest. Because we're specialized, we want to know that you are interested in that area, right? So it's an opportunity to share about your interest in IP or commerce and technology law, in so much as you know what your career goals are. And students don't always. I think they often have a very clearly defined path, but sometimes for younger students, it's more, I'm not entirely sure. Like it could be this or this, but I know that the LLM is that next step on my professional journey. So kind of mapping that out, letting us know why you think we're the right school for you and why you're the right student for our program. So don't just copy and paste from the website, but make it clear that you've done a little bit of research. The other thing that I suggest to students is that if there's anything in your application that might make us wonder, perhaps your grade suffered one semester, tell us what happened. Because otherwise we're just kind of left wondering. So maybe it was COVID happened and the adjustment to online learning was really challenging. So I think that personal statement can be an opportunity to name anything that you think we might, that if you're worried about it and you think we might be, name it. And you can do that in your personal statement or as a separate addendum. So I think, of course, proofreading, have somebody read over, make sure there's not a lot of grammatical mistakes. The personal statement, I would say on average is about 2 pages. I've seen some that are a little bit shorter, some that are a little bit longer. We don't have a certain limit. So it's really take the space that you feel you need. But it's an opportunity to tell us a little bit more about not just regurgitating your CV, but how those experiences kind of shaped you, why they're important, and why they helped you find your interest in IP, and how you think the LLM will be important to you in your career. Yeah.
We have an additional question from another engineer online. This is Paula Ribeiro. What is the cost of the master degree? How long does it take? And I would add, can you perhaps, do like hybrid master degree?
Sure. So the master's degree for in-person, the tuition is the same for our LLM and masters. The cost of tuition is $42,000 before any scholarships, and it takes 1 academic year. So you begin in August and you finish in May. In the online program, again, it can be done full-time or part-time. Full-time is 1 calendar year. Part-time for the master's is up to 5 years. I don't think anybody takes 5 years. Typically, people want to earn the degree, but I would say 2 to 2.5 years is average. But you can adjust the pace based on your personal and professional life. So my recommendation for students is typically start a little bit slower, take maybe just 1 class at first semester, see how it feels. And then the next semester, if it felt fine, you could add a second course. But you have flexibility in that online program. The cost structure for the online program is a per credit hour cost. So the cost is currently $1,310 per credit. The LLM is 24 credits. The master's is 30 credits. And your tuition bill each semester is based on the number of credits in which you're enrolled. So if you're only taking 1 class, you're only paying for that 1 class that semester. In terms of a hybrid approach, so it's a little complicated, primarily because of the visa piece. That if you're coming to the US to study, you need a student visa, and then you need to be a full-time student. So we have had students start fully online and then transfer to the in-person and be fully in-person and a full-time student for that final semester. So we can work with students on that. But know that if you do come in person, it would require at least a 1 semester full-time commitment.
Fantastic. Any final question before we close for today? Yep, Patricia, please. Last one.
I'm really interested in law and technology, and I saw that you were talking about Microsoft and Apple, and I would like to know more how these classes how they work, because I'm really interested. And I think that when talking about law and technology and intellectual property, we should talk about artificial intelligence, because it's something that it will grow a lot. So I would like to know more about these classes that you said.
Yeah, so we're developing more classes in that AI space. And actually our dean, and then I mentioned Mickey Midhas, our IP Center director. Last year, they spent a week in India visiting law schools, and they did a presentation on AI and IP. So they are really knowledgeable in that space. I think new courses are coming along. As I mentioned, the courses that we offered will change from year to year. Is Victor still here? Victor, you have some classmates that are in that commerce and technology program. Are you able to share any more? You mentioned before some of the classes they're taking.
Yeah, about artificial intelligence itself, answering to Patricia's question, I would say that they are discussed inside each course. So in the patent law course, we discuss ownership in respect to artificial intelligence, in the copyright as well. Because being honest, it's really hard for a so new topic to develop a semester course entirely on it. So the theme is discussed inside each course. And I assume, Sarah, I don't know so far, but that this kind of discussion is gonna it's more suited for the IPSI, you know, that there are the hot topics and like IP and video games, IP and cannabis, IP and artificial intelligence, IP and the metaverse. My feeling is that this is more related to the IPSI, while the LLM itself, it's related to the foundations of trademark law, patent law, and this kind of course.
Yeah, you're actually reminding me, Victor, that our dean was at the ABPI Congress here this year when it was in Rio, but the year before in Sao Paulo, and her presentation then was IP in the metaverse. So yes, they do kind of pop up as like special topics, like some of those speakers that we might bring in. But that's helpful to hear that it's happening inside your more traditional classes as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Sarah, once again for coming down here to talk to us and to talk to this audience very interested in learning more about IP, studying IP in the US. For those that want more information, I hope you have that you got the note of emails and all the contact information from Sarah. Otherwise, you can contact IDS here, and I will be very glad to make the contact and bridge the contact with Sarah. Thank you very much, Sarah. Thank you very much, Victor, for taking the time and share your experience with us. We just learned that you're skipping classes today. I gotta tell you, your boss, Gustavo, here is in the audience. He didn't like this information so much, but you can figure it out later.
My pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Have a good day.
And thank you.